Well, hello, folks. Thank you so much for coming. My name's Canucci Terranella. I'm the executive director at the Wenatchee River Institute. I really appreciate you all coming. This is a great topic, so relevant to our community. And thank you for making the time to be here tonight. I'm excited to hear Paul talk. We have Jeremy in the back doing technology so that folks elsewhere can enjoy this talk or see it later on YouTube. They're all recorded, so you can share it with a friend or a neighbor, perhaps. We also have Lissy here serving drinks. Please have a drink. It supports WRI and also relaxes you. So have a drink or hydrate with a bubbly water. Both are good. So how many of you folks have never been to a WRI event before? 1, 2, oh, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate that. We love connecting people, communities, and the natural world. So to have 2 more, 3 more folks here tonight, we're achieving that mission. So tell your friends that you enjoyed this evening, if you did. And if you didn't, give us some feedback. You'll see we have a QR code on our last slide. We're looking for ways to improve our product all the time. Let's see, beyond doing this, we also do lots of hands-on nature education with youth up and down the Wenatchee Valley, as well as other programs and workshops. This weekend, for example, we have a tracking workshop with an internationally renowned tracker who's going to be here teaching folks about tracking animals in the snow. So that'll be fun. Another important aspect of WRI is our effort to connect more deeply with the Piscosa people who are here before us. And before all of our events, we read a land acknowledgement, and I'll do that now. This land acknowledgement was created alongside the Shin-Pe-Squaw-Shu people. We are spreading the message that they wish to be spread to the public. The land Wenatchee River Institute sits on is the ancestral homelands of the Shin-Pe-Squaw-Shu, the Piscosa or the Wenatchee people. Shin-Pe-Squaw-Shu, meaning people in between, had villages positioned along the Wenatchee River and surrounding areas. Their ancestral homeland extends from the Cascade Ridge throughout what is now known as Wenatchee in the Okanagan Valley. The culture and economy of the Shin-Pe-Squaw-Shu people centers on taking care of the land. They hunt, fish, gather roots and berries, and basket-making materials and medicines. Come on in, y'all. The Shin-Pe-Squaw-Shu are named within the Yakima Treaty of 1855. Language to establish the Wenatchee Reservation was never followed through, even with the needed surveying completed. Many Shin-Pe-Squaw-Shu now live on the Colville Reservation, 150 miles northeast of Leavenworth. They were forced off their land here, and the U.S. government moved them to this reservation. The Shin-Pe-Squaw-Shu people are still alive today. They continue to practice their culture, harvest their traditional foods and medicines, and hold their ceremonies passed down from their ancestors. Most people won't see or notice them, but they continue to be on the land they are connected to. Their traditional language in it is Inham Sheen. It's an interior Salish dialect, and I can welcome you now by saying hello in their language. Til husht. We offer this land acknowledgement as the first step to amplifying Indigenous voices and recognizing the harm done to them as a people. We stand as an ally to recognize their connection to the land and their rights to practice their culture on these sacred lands. We encourage all to learn about the Indigenous peoples of the place you now call home. The Wenatchee River Institute is committed to sharing this land acknowledgement and following up with other actions to educate and be respectful. Also, we couldn't do this without our sponsors. So thank you very much, sponsors. Here they are all on a nice list. We have the City of Leavenworth, who helps us with the great technology that we have here. Leavenworth Pine Village Holiday Resort, Icicle Brewing, the Rhine House, Ludwig's, German Restaurant, North Central Washington Audubon, the Obertal Inn, South, Sleeping Lady Mountain Resort, and the Nature Conservancy, Leavenworth Chamber of Commerce, Hotel Pension Anna and the Blue Elk Inn, Leavenworth Village Inn, Syndicate Smith, Wild Birds Unlimited, Munchen House, Gustav's of Leavenworth, Wenatchee Native Plant Society, see, nobody could read that one, Sage Mountain, Chocolat, Stimmelt Fruit, Tierra Learning Center, Riverfront Rock Gym, Barron House, Rimmer and Rotor Construction, and the Cove Resort, plus Mitchell Reed and Schmitten Insurance, and Leavenworth Coffee Roasters. Thank God for all of them. Next up, you'll see is this QR code. As the executive director here, I'm always trying to help us do better. So if you're enjoying our program, or if you have any ideas about things we should do differently, please take a minute, snap a picture of that, and it'll send you a little form, and we'll get the message. That'll come up again at the end of the show. Next, our upcoming events. We got some good stuff coming. Really exciting stuff. And this DIY bat workshop is going to be fun. If you know Tiffany Thaden, she's amazing. She's running that one, so it'll be a neat, fun adventure. But we're here to not listen to me anymore, but to listen to Paul. So I'm going to give you a quick introduction, and then I'm going to hand it over to him. Paul Tomas is an avid environmental educator with a passion for astronomy. Over 8 years, he has worked as a park ranger, organizing and conducting interpretive programs covering various subjects from snowshoe nature hikes to astronomy programs. During his work as a park ranger, he has worked to change local parks into dark sky havens by advocating for dark skies and retrofitting exterior lights in parks. Paul Tomas is the founder of the Wenatchee Valley Astronomy Club. This local club gives local astronomers of all experience levels a place in this valley to come together, to form new connections, friendships, and share with each other all things astronomy. Great. Paul, take it away.
Awesome.
Boom.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for showing up tonight. A lot of good faces out there. Some I recognize, most I do not, but I don't get out very much. So, at least during the day. So, when was the last time you looked up at the night sky and just stopped and saw the stars and thought, wow, that is brilliant. The Milky Way streaming across overhead like it was cascading. This immense beauty could be right outside our front door. But today's inefficient lighting is masking all but the brightest of stars. We're losing our night sky. Every 8 to 10 years, our night sky brightens twofold. Now, we're trading that off for a lack of, for a false sense of security, mental, physical health decline, CO2 emissions, wasted money, wasted energy, and landscape and aesthetics. The question is, why do we choose this over a natural environment? Why must we treat the land as a commodity and not see it as a community to which we belong? Is this higher standard of living worth things natural, wild, and free? So as introduced, my name's Paul Tomas, and I'm a dark sky advocate for Dark Sky International. I'm also a member of the Wenatchee Valley Astronomy Club and a citizen to this valley. And I'm going to talk to you tonight about light pollution and our valley's contribution to it. But I want to start with, personally, I think light pollution's main contributor is the lack of general education, along with a runaway technology development and a growing shift, a social philosophy shift that values the self-interest of the individual over the community's common good. So, with that, let's talk about what light pollution is. So, light pollution is how I define as artificial light at night that is cast off, not hitting its intended target, and going up into the atmosphere, getting redirected, coming back down, brighten up our environment, our communities. Let me turn this off here. So there's 4 different forms of light pollution. We have glare, we have light trespass, light clutter, and of course sky glow. And I'm going to go into more what all those forms are. Glare. There's direct and indirect. So I'm sure you've all noticed these headlights, these car headlights are getting brighter and brighter, and now they're glaring into our eyes, and you have to look at the fog line just to stay on the road. Now, so that would be direct glare. And the type of glare that would be disability. Like you cannot drive without looking at that fog line. And then there's indirect glare as well. Indirect glare would be that bright light bouncing off of a surface, entering your eye at a shallow angle. A wet road, I'm sticking with the headlight example. The light bouncing off a wet road, or a sunlight bouncing off a wet road and getting into your eyes. The different types is discomforting and disability, one being a little more harsh of a glare than the other. But we have light trespass as well. Light trespass, we probably are aware that our neighbors might have a bright light, and yeah, that is light trespass, but I'm going to make it more broad stroke here, and that's light that hits areas that it doesn't intend to hit. So light going beyond where it's wanted or needed. Next would be light clutter. Bright, confusing, an excessive group of lighting. Now, our eyes work off of illumination contrast. So thinking like a light that's way over there should be dim. A light that's closer to us is going to be brighter. Now, that's not to say a front porch light is shining at 2,000 lumens and really, really bright, but the street light next to us is very dim. So it kind of can confuse us and confuse our depth perception as well. And of course, sky glow. That's all of our wasted light entering the atmosphere, getting redirected because of air particles, and coming back down, brightening up our night sky. This is Lake Chelan. Clear night. What do you think happens when it's cloudy out? Now, I can't tell if you can see the difference on this screen or not. But it bounces and lights up our environment. This is taken from a rural area, a native area, but it's still brightening up the sky and the ground. This next slide is a culmination of all those different types of light pollution. This is the area that's meant to be lit, is down below, below the street light, but since it's not fully shielded, and I'll get into what that means later, it bounces off, gets redirected up into the sky, which comes down. Also, that light is going directly into that person's eye, but could also bounce off and hit that person's eye. And you see the light trespass, which is everywhere besides the area to be lit. So let's talk about the consequences of such light pollution. Why should we care? So we're going to talk about sea turtles. Now, last time I checked, we don't have sea turtles here, right? So I'm still going to talk about it nonetheless. Sea turtles, when they hatch, they look for a bright, low horizon, because that's usually, or used to be, the ocean. The stars were bright, but now, today, the bright lights are behind them, coming from a beach house or something. And they see that, they go to that the wrong way, they die due to predation or dehydration. Wetland amphibians, for consistent reproduction, they need a truly dark sky. And the artificial light at night is preventing that. Mammals, I'm going to talk about mammals in a little bit when I talk about humans, because it affects them all the same. Birds. So Galveston, 2017, there was a big storm, and these migrating birds at night, they needed a sanctuary, somewhere to go. It was safe. They saw a big bright light, they went to it. The next morning, workers from that building came to a scene of hundreds of birds at the footsteps of their door. And this picture is they are birds, and unfortunately dead birds from that incident. You'll see some QR codes on my presentation. If you want, you can take out your phone. I'm not going to care, because that's why they're up there. Or again, they're on YouTube. You can go back to it later and QR code it for any references that you see up here. Birdcast info. Let me get back into the birds. So migrating birds at night, they see this sky glow, the culmination of all of our light pollution. They go to it for reasons I'm not quite sure, but they go to this sky glow. Once they enter into the city, these lights become almost a jewel box, a prison jewel box for them. They stay there, they hunker down, and then these individual light sources, they collide into these buildings. 300 million to 1 billion birds die every year. Birdcast info. Down in the lower right here, there's a QR code for that. What Birdcast info does is it finds your location, or you say, okay, find my location, and then it'll tell you what species of birds are flying, migrating at night at your location, and when. It's a forecasting site. And that'll let you know when it's okay to either have your lights on or off. Oregon, Houston, I believe as well, this is where this started, is a Lights Out program. Lights Out programs are enacted in cities that have a lot of light pollution, or just any city in general. And what they do is whenever there's migrating bird population coming through their city, they turn off the lights for these migrating birds. Bats, little brown myotis, we have them a lot here. They're light averse. Now, not all bat species are light averse, but usually the smaller bat species are. Little brown myotis is one of them. They don't like to roost in the areas of light pollution. They avoid light pollution when they can. And since their population is down by 90% because of white noise syndrome, not related to light pollution, but should we fragment their habitat any further? But insects. I mean, I still care about insects, and I don't like a mosquito, but I don't want everything to die. They can be attracted to light, right? And they die that way as well. Also from predation, because of certain bat species that might like the light, is a predator-prey imbalance. But there are some populations, some species that are night pollinators. And they won't pollinate under areas of artificial light pollution, or light at night. Pyrenees Prealps. They did a study in a relatively dark area where they turned on a light. It resulted in a 60% decline in night pollinators, which end up being a 13% decline in fruit production. Flora, the trees, under direct light at night, they bloom early, too early, and they lose their leaves too late. How about energy waste? I mean, these lights are powered by something, right? 30 to 50% of our lighting, exterior lighting, is actually wasted. It's not hitting its intended target, it's going off somewhere else. And we don't really need that. It ends up being about $3 billion. To replace that, to offset that, we'd need to plant 875 million trees annually to replace that 21 million CO2 emission. How about human health? So, blue light. I'm sure we've all heard of blue light. It's the really white light. We want to focus more on a redder light because this blue light, this white light, is high energy, short wavelength, scatters easily. The sun, the blue is scattered in our sky, and this blue light scattering is why our sky is blue. And it also does that in our eyeball. It scatters in our eyeball. Now our eyes aren't, no, all of our eyes are blue. Mine isn't, but it does reduce the melatonin production, which in turn has the following health effects. Now this is coming from the American Health Association and the American Medical Association as well as NASA. Again, all of my sources are down there via the QR code. Breast cancer is linked to light pollution as well through a DNA methylation manipulation. So gene suppressing, altering. I'm not a doctor, so I can't say the scientific words all myself. I had little cheat sheets for that. But okay, safety. Now that's one of the primary reasons why we have light at night. Let's light up this area. We need to make it safe for everybody. Is that better? No. No, lighting is needed at night. Yeah, we all have lighting needs. I'm not saying turn off the lights, but a well-designed light, efficient lighting is better. Now, high brightness, unshielded light, just a light bulb, area lighting, it's going to create harsh shadows, high contrast, and you're not going to be able to see what's beyond just the light. Now, if you turn down the light a little bit, shield it to where it's needed, your eyes will adapt better and see what's beyond the lit up surfaces. Also, lights on motion sensors have a better deterrent than a light always on. It increases suspicion. If you have a light that's off, you're going to look. Well, you're not going to see anything, so you're not going to look. But when light turns on, you're going to be like, well, why is my light on? Or your neighbor's light. That light isn't usually on. Why is that light on? Oh, there's somebody over there. Also, a light always on can display, if you're worried about graffiti, will display the medium that they're placing their artwork on. There is a framework put in place by a lot of city planners, and this can include, it does include Houston, Seattle, New York, I believe Los Angeles. That's just to name a few, but this next framework is global, is CPTED. Crime prevention through environmental design. And it started in, I believe, the late 60s, but the main reason for it is to use the natural environment for prevention of fear of crime and the fear of crime, to make the place usable by the general public or whoever is using it. Now, we want to make it comfortable. We want to make the area comfortable and aesthetic, because if we have the community use it, it will displace the abnormal use. And when the community uses it, they'll have ownership of it. You'll have natural surveillance. Light intensity, how bright the lights are, and how uniform it is, can affect the feel of a place. Which one would you rather hang out in? One on the left or one on the right? For me personally, a warmer light is better. We have warm lights in our house. Why do we have white lights outside? It's not for color rendering. We can see color just as well on the left one than as the right one. In fact, there's less glare, so you can actually make out better on the left. Incandescent bulbs and LEDs, they work off of a color rendering index from 0 to 100. Incandescence is 100. LEDs are 90 to 95, I think 85 to 95, something like that. And that just tells you how well you can pick up different colors. It doesn't matter about the color of the light, the temperature of the light, but rather the CRI, the color rendering index. The one on the left is around 3,000. I couldn't tell you just by looking at it, unfortunately, but personally I like the 2,700 Kelvin. I'll get into what that means in a little bit later. What is it? 2 out of 100 people on Earth can see the Milky Way from their home? That 2 out of 10, I'm sorry, did I say 2 out of 100? But in the US and Europe, we're at 99% of us live under these light polluted skies, and we can't see the Milky Way. So how do we fix it? We utilize the 5 smart lighting principles. I don't know if you noticed when you walked in here, there's some cards out there on this table to my left. Feel free to take anything except for this diorama that I made. Don't take that. I don't think you could walk out of here with it. It's heavy. It does have a little card that speaks to what I'm about to talk about. Using the 5 lighting principles, we can reduce light pollution. Is the light useful? Do we need it? If we're not going to use it, don't have it on all night. It's just, yeah, we can turn it off. It can be on, can be controlled through a timer or a motion sensor. It doesn't always have to be on. But say it is useful. You do need it on. Well, okay. At least point it to where it's going to go and direct all of its light at that source. Now, just that alone isn't going to, it's not the end all. You can still point at the source and you have glare. You'll probably eliminate the direct light trespass, but not the glare itself. So turn it down. Lumens at below 500 meets most of our needs. Is it warm colored? Is it really white? 5,500 Kelvin? Or is it 3,000 or below? We're looking for 3,000 or below. And I spoke to the controlled early as well. These are the 5 lighting principles that we'll be using for the rest of the presentation. Shielding, light shielding, super important. It's one of the 5 lighting principles. On the left, you can see a fully unshielded, no cutoff light. Now, no cutoff and shielding, they're used interchangeably. So if you go to a home improvement store, you might see the word cutoff. What we mean is shielding. It's not shielded, and the light is going everywhere. It's even going up. We don't need to light up the stars, and the stars do that themselves. The middle 2, those are partially shielded. While they don't necessarily, at least the bad one, is not going up, but it's still light trespassing, still glaring in people's eyes. The best one is a fully shielded light. Now that's where a light bulb is not protruding from past the shielding. It's fully inside the shield, and the only way you could get glare from a properly shielded light that is dim is if you stood underneath it and looked up. Choosing warmer lights. Typically, we'll see it in between 6,000 and 2,700 Kelvin are light bulbs here. That's where they're mass produced. And I spoke about the blue light already, but yeah, so this cool light is typically what we see in hospitals or exteriors of RV storage sites. I know they're popping up here. And then speak again to the last bit of the smart lighting principles is the intensity. 500 lumens or lower is what Dark Sky International is looking for. That's what we want to cut down on our light pollution and our wasted light. It will help save energy costs as well. And of course, warranting. Is it needed? Is that needed? It doesn't really help. There's been studies to say that street lighting doesn't necessarily help with accidents, or the reduction of which. This is a park in our local area that we did a retrofit on. The top photo is a photo unretrofitted. That's what it used to be. And I know it's under an eave, but it is unshielded. It's about 5,500 Kelvin, and it is a lot of lumens. It was in the thousands. Like, all right, do we really need this? It was casting light all across the area. Shield it? We shielded it. And we didn't even turn down the lumens at this point. This is the difference between shielding and no shielding. But since then, we also added film to change the color temperature as well. These same lights are the ones in the back, on the trifold in the back. That's the same retrofit, as well as the wall packs. So let's talk about our valley a little bit. But first, let's talk about the scales that we're going to be using. The Bortle scale, very common scale to be used. It's the easiest to understand. One being a great spot. You can see all the stars, 5,500 of them in the northern hemisphere. Or something like New York City, on the other end of the spectrum here, 8 or 9. And we're somewhere in between. The Bortle scale is how many different or specific items that you can see, or objects that you can see in the night sky. Can you see this galaxy? Yes. Can you see this star? Yes. Can you see this? No. Okay, well then you're at a Bortle scale 3. Can you see it? Then keep on going down the list. But we can also do some rough transitions or what have you to say that, okay, this darkness usually means we're at a Bortle scale 3. This darkness, this measurement of the sky quality meter. This is a sky quality meter by Unihedron. I have one here as well. How you use it is you hold it up, you press the button, hold it, and it'll tell you how dark it is. We're in a lit building, so it's going to be very bright. It's not even on the scale. It's at 8.19. I'll pass this around. There's something wiggling in there. Don't worry, you didn't break it. I'll start over here. But go ahead and try it. After the program, if you want to try it outside, go ahead. But it uses an inverse logarithmic scale. A lot of times we'll see it at around, I've seen as low as 17. So it's inverse, so it's kind of flipped, where a higher number means it's darker. 17, super bright night sky. Lake Wenatchee area, depending on where you are, because if your neighbor is really bright light, it's going to affect it. It's going to be at around 21.52 all the way up to 21.7 is what I've seen. But we can say, well, that will equal a Bortle class 2, roughly. To our local area, local-ish. We're going to be looking at some slides of satellite data. Now, I want to say that this satellite imagery has a really hard time picking up blue light. It's an infrared imager, and it's on the other end of the visible spectrum, so it has a hard time seeing the blue light. This is from Globe at Night, Citizen Science Program, and I'll talk more about that towards the end, but so this is from user-submitted data and compiled into a map. Washington State. You can take a look at some of these different slides as I take a drink of water. Wenatchee Valley. You start seeing the growth a little bit in our valley. I like to really look at the yellow and the red for a really good point source indicator. This is all, it should be point source. It doesn't pick up sky glow that well. That's a different satellite imagery, and that was the World Atlas 2015. It hasn't been updated since. Leavenworth. Let me know if you wanted to go back to that one afterwards, too. This is Kashmir. Anyone here from Kashmir?
Used to be.
Used to be. It was a good town. I like that town. And Wenatchee. It's not too late to change our light pollution. We might think it's too late, but it's not. How about Lake Wenatchee Plain area? Again, this will be on YouTube, so if you do want to go back to it later when you're home, feel free to look on YouTube for this. So Wenatchee, let's compare the two cities. Flagstaff, Arizona has a very strict lighting code. Wenatchee has no lighting code, at least from what I know. I couldn't find any, so if you know anything different, please let me know. But after the program, so I'm not embarrassed. Anyways, population. Wenatchee, East Wenatchee, I can't remember if I put Sunny Slope in this or not, is about 50,000. Flagstaff, about 80,000. Flagstaff's 47% larger, but Wenatchee is 113% brighter. And if the population grew to the size of Flagstaff, it'd be 141 times brighter than Flagstaff. So currently, Wenatchee's 113. I think I said the percentage is the same. But and notice how Flagstaff doesn't have any of that red or violet interior in the city center. I couldn't even measure that. I was hoping to get more data on that. But so how can we make a difference? It starts with us. It starts with you. It starts with me. Look at our own property and what can we do as individuals to fix our lighting? Is the light necessary? Is it shielded? Is it low lumen? Is it red-ish? Doesn't have to be red, but below 3,000. How about our neighbors? I know this is going to be one that I get questions on later. right? So I'll talk a little bit about that right now. How can I get my neighbor to shut off with his light without me shooting it out? Right? I should have put it on this presentation. I'm kicking myself now, but there was a street light nearby where I live, and the street light was just put in place, and somebody took an arrow and there's an arrow sticking in it for years. I was like, I took a picture of it, and I should have put it on here. Be on good terms. If you're not, then they're going to get defensive, and you know how that goes. They're going to be ingrained in their beliefs, and they're going to get hostile. They might even put a light up in your name, right? So be on good terms. If you want to get there first, I mean, you can invite them to an astronomy party, or you can get a telescope and say, hey, want to check out the moon in my backyard? Sure, let's go, or something like that. And then they might see, oh, my light. Hey, can you turn off your light real quick so we can take a look at the telescope? Sure. Be on good terms with them, because if you're not, it's not going to happen. No way. It is their property, so it's their choice how they light that property. Hopefully it's not intruding to your enjoyment of the night sky or health. What are the reasons for this light? Maybe there's an actual valid reason. I mean, it's their lighting needs. And so how can you achieve their lighting needs while also achieving your needs of protecting the dark sky and the enjoyment of which? So be prepared for solutions, and once you bring it up. If they say, yeah, okay, but I still need this, be prepared with solutions. And be prepared to help with solutions. It's not just on them. If you want them to change, you should help them. darksky.org. There's letter templates that you can get. I don't know. I personally feel that's a little impersonal, and I believe this is something you should do face-to-face. But sometimes that's your last resort. Maybe they're an STR, and they're not there. So where can you find these solutions? Well, you can go on any home improvement website and search lights. There's filters there where you can filter out and filter 3,000 Kelvin, 500 lumens. There might even be something that's a dark sky approved or something. But you have to be careful with those websites, because manufacturers might claim that they're dark sky, but it's greenwashed, and it's not actually dark sky approved. Dark sky approved, I'd go on darksky.org. They have a library full of lights that are being approved as dark sky, and they put it in their library. You can click on the light, filter it by activity or the type of light, if it's a sconce or otherwise, and then click on the one you like. It'll send you to where you can buy it. That's on darksky.org. What else can you do to help with our light pollution? You can celebrate Dark Sky Week. Who knew about Dark Sky Week before this? Yeah, a couple here. End of April, 21st to 28th this year, you can sign up to pledge and say, hey, yeah, I'm going to do my part to protect the night sky, to spread awareness. You can become a dark sky advocate like myself, or just a member of Dark Sky, and you can pledge monetary value if you want, but you can also just spread the general awareness. Attend a dark sky event like you are right now, or an astronomy program. I do plenty of those. This year I'm hoping to do 16 programs, both at Lake Wenatchee, Leavenworth, and possibly one down in the city of Wenatchee.
If you can see the sky.
If you can see the sky, I know. It might have to be a lunar event, right? I'll have to do a little bit of investigative work before that one. Or just hang out. You can hang out outside. Enjoy the night sky and the appreciation of it. Any way you celebrate it, let's just celebrate Dark Sky Week this year. Work with local astronomy groups, right? You can volunteer. We're always looking for volunteers. I know we have a couple of our volunteers here with us as well. So I appreciate you guys coming. But volunteer, help out with the program. Even if you don't know astronomy, that's how you start to learn, right? Just by doing it. You can install an SQM sky quality meter. They do have the handheld ones, yes, but they also make built units that you can put either in the middle of a farm field and collect the data later, or you can put it on the side of your house and route it to your router and send the data right to citizen science programs like Globe at Night, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Washington State does have a dark sky chapter, and that's the darkskiesnorthwest.org. We can support businesses that support the dark sky mission. I know there's a few businesses out there that I've seen that are dark sky friendly, but I don't know if they're even aware of it. So maybe you could just give them a pat on the back. And the ones that are excessively bright, you can ask, well, why? Maybe they have a lighting need that needs to be met, but not sure how to achieve it. And you have a possible solution. Dark sky approved lodging is a part of a dark sky place. Dark sky places are places where Dark Sky International approves these areas as, wow, you can really see the dark sky here. That's protected. Dark sky park, reserve, sanctuary, communities even are being dark sky approved. They have lighting programs or light policy. They're fairly strict if they're approved from dark sky, but it helps protect our night sky. And the dark sky approved lodging is brand new, and it also offers a way to advertise. It's another avenue of advertisement that's free. I mean, it is free. You'll have to retrofit some lights here and there, but once it's up and running, it's up and running. And I know there's a few lodges around here that would benefit from that. How about agency recognition? What agencies here in the valley, what agencies that I know of that recognize dark skies? Now, recognize might be a little different than following through with it and actually being dark sky friendly, but at least the recognition is there. And National Park Service, BLM, Fish and Wildlife Service, Chelan POD I put on there. They do have a rebate program for commercial businesses where you can, if you have a new lighting project or a retrofit, you can fill an application and you can get up to $20,000. I might be incorrect on that, about $20,000 in rebate. They can cover 100% of that lighting retrofit, as long as it's dark sky friendly. But if there's an agency in this valley that doesn't support dark sky, talk to them. Maybe it's beyond them. Maybe talk to headquarters or regions offices and see why not? Why can't we? How about lighting ordinances? What counties have them? Well, Island County has it. Snohomish County has it. A lighting ordinance. I didn't put it on there because it's relatively weak, and I don't think it does much, if anything, for light pollution. I left it out. Leavenworth has a lighting code. Yeah, I was surprised when I learned this first as well. 14.48, and you know, it's not terrible. You know, like a lot of lighting ordinances, we could do more. There's a lot of problems with current ordinances or lighting codes that we could do better on to protect the night sky. Most of them don't have a max temperature. So you go down the street and you can see a 6,000, a really white light, an orange light, a red light, and it just doesn't offer the aesthetic appeal and comfort that uniformity can bring. Also, scattering of that white light. No max lumens. usually. There is usually like a light trespassing section in these lighting codes, but they don't speak specifically to max lumens, and I believe, I'm not a code enforcement by any means, but it would be direct light and not indirect light. No lumen cap per property. Now this would affect pre-existing lights. So I believe the Leavenworth Code was enacted in 2015. A lumen cap on property for residential and a lumen cap for acreage for commercial would help with those pre-existing lights because they don't speak exactly to the lighting itself. No lighting zones. A lot of these places don't have lighting zones or classes, so if you need to protect one area, if there's an observatory in town that I don't know about that we need to protect, maybe that area has a little stricter zoned where commercial is less strict. Different code classes, lighting classes would be what type of lights and the reason for these lights. If it's safety or is it landscape aesthetics. Probably wondering about holiday lights. Even the strictest of codes don't really affect holiday lighting. And honestly, there's got to be a point where we have to give some to get some, right? So, and we're a town of lights, right? A self-claimed town of lights, but we still have a lighting code. I think that's great. That's the only one in the valley.
Does anyone know if our holiday lights go off at a certain point in the night?
I believe it's 11. Is it 11 p.m.? Yeah.
I'm clearly not up late enough. I know they go.
No. I don't know. I can't remember. When did they turn on?
It's technically 6 a.m., 6 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Perfect.
that they're on, but
Yeah.
all days.
So yes, there is a time when they do turn off. Dark sky places. Where are the dark sky places in our northwest region? Well, we got some in Oregon, Idaho, Wyoming, Montana, but Washington has 0. Why? Why don't we have any dark sky places here? I mean, we're surrounded by dark sky places. We have dark skies here that we could make a dark sky park, or we could make a dark sky community. And I love these dark sky communities because that means people got on board with this. A group of people with different views and beliefs got on board with this and made a change, realizing that everyone can have all their needs met without sacrificing, their needs. Citizen science programs. This is how we can also benefit our valley. Zooniverse, SciStarter are apps that you can get on your phone that group a lot of different citizen science programs. So you can do a program based on bumblebees or butterflies or asteroids. You can also do it for light pollution. And Globe at Night on the left is where I'm going to be focusing. Because Globe at Night, what they do is use all of our submissions, collect it worldwide, and map it to understand how our light pollution is growing. Because satellite imagery is great and everything, but again, like I said, it's not capturing all the data. To be able to do that, they need land-based observations. So Globe at Night app, so that's how you use the SQM there. Make sure you smile too. If you're not smiling, you're not doing it right. I just explained it now, but you can get it on your phone. The QR code goes right to it, and you hit observe, and it'll pull up an app or a feature where you can say, I'm here at this location on this date, and then it'll give you this on your phone. Okay, well, let's look at Jupiter. What stars can you see in this area? Now, I believe this is Orion. Orion. Magnitude 1, how many stars? But it could look like this, where you can't even pick out the constellation. Now, say we don't know what constellations are or where exactly Orion is, that's fine. Because there's also an app that you can download on your phone, Lost at Night app, that will actually direct you to, has a little arrow, and it'll direct you to the constellation. And it'll help you out with that. They use the naked eye limiting magnitude data, so neither the Bortle scale or SQMs, although there is an option to use an SQM. This SQM that's floating around, that hopefully didn't end up in somebody's pocket, there's an option for that as well. So that'd be really easy. Just pull it out, do it, submit it. You wouldn't have to find a constellation at all. And also, you can find all this satellite imagery here down below at lightpollutionmap.info. And you can find many different years. You can filter it by, this is what I was talking about, the World Atlas. On the right-hand side, this photo or image is the World Atlas imagery satellite data. What I was using earlier was the VIRS, V-I-I-R-S, satellite data. This does take into account sky glow, where VIRS is a point source. So you can join Dark Sky International. You can spread awareness. Become a dark sky advocate. It's really easy. I mean, there's no expectations set upon you. There's no requirements other than, spread awareness however you can. So, as I close for the evening, I want us to think. What price are we putting on our night sky? And what are our actions or inactions doing, speaking to this price that we're setting? Our civilization has cluttered our relationship with nature, with technologies and lighting, so much so that our awareness of it, it's growing dim. Look around your valley and see the lights with a new perspective. How can the same lighting needs be met while also protecting our night sky, achieving the needs of all individuals? And what can you do to think globally and act locally, working towards protecting our night sky through the smart lighting principles and community action? Because after all, we deserve things natural, wild, and free. And we all deserve, truly, a dark sky. Thank you.
Got questions for Paul?
Let's over here.
I heard about an astronomy kind of a be-in that happens up in northeast of Waterville. Are you still doing that in the summertime where people come with their telescopes and everybody spends a weekend looking at the sky?
How big is this? Is this the one at Table Mountain?
No, but when I first moved here, I heard a rumor that there was this astronomy gathering every summer somewhere out in the dark sky area.
Yeah, so that it was at Table Mountain. It was it was the Table Mountain Star Party. It's now the Washington Star Party. They moved from Table Mountain because the road has become pretty much inaccessible if you have a $1,000 telescope in the back seat. They moved to Jefferson Lake, which is also a little closer for West Side people to come over as well. But yes, there is a star party every year. I don't have the exact date in my head, but I believe it's in late July. It's somewhere around sockeye season usually. But it's in Jefferson Lake, and all these astronomy clubs come together. And I'll be there that year and talking about volunteerism, doing a presentation over there. But yes, and it's several days, and even if you don't have a telescope, astronomy is for sharing. So everyone's going to be happy to say, hey, look what I'm looking at. And there's some massive telescopes there.
Where is Jefferson Lake? Paul?
Yes, please. Charlie.
Jameson?
Oh, Jameson. I'm sorry. Thank you for that correction. Jameson Lake. Starts with a J.
End of July.
End of July. Perfect. Thank you, Charlie. I had another question.
So you showed Wenatchee versus Flagstaff?
Yes.
So what's Wenatchee doing to be more donor?
Nothing currently. But there's not enough push from the community, because it starts with the community, right? We need to tell them that, hey, we care about this. This is something we care about, because if we don't tell them that, then nothing's going to happen. If there's not agent...
Who do you tell? I mean, you go to the city council, or you...
You can do the city council, absolutely, yeah. The city council meetings. You could start a group, an advocacy group. I haven't done presentations down in Wenatchee, but this is actually my first one, so we'll see where this takes me. Absolutely, yeah.
I thought I heard that Chelan County did a retrofit project, and it was meant to diminish the amount of light pollution, but it actually sort of made it worse. Did you know anything about this?
I'm not directly that problem, but LEDs, when they were first brought out, they were thought, oh, this is going to be great. This is going to help light pollution so much. It's going to help energy waste. Well, it did help energy waste individually. Individual lights are now reduced by a ton. Well, quite literally tons of CO2 emissions, right? But that energy savings, where do we put it? More lights, right? And so it didn't help at all. In fact, it made the problem worse. And these first few generations of LEDs, they didn't have the option to bring it down from 5,000 Kelvin to 3,000. But now they're coming out with smart lighting technology where you can set them on timers, you can dim them down, you can change the color temperature. So it goes to, when I opened, is having this runaway technology development that we mass produce something without really knowing the consequences of such. And we should really be mastering these before putting them out and mass producing the byproduct as well. Charlie?
Yeah, so kind of on the same vein as this, I know you had a chance to go down to Goldendale and visit the observatory down there in the park. Even though it's not a research telescope, it's more of an outreach. Do you know if the city of Goldendale, or did you guys talk about, since that being a staple in that community, the city working with the observatory to kind of create some kind of code there?
I don't have enough information to speak to that. It's a little out of my wheelhouse, and yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have much information.
It kind of could be, a lot of times folks try to think about how do I tackle this situation in my community, well, there's usually other towns that maybe come across this before.
I know that observatory did go through a large retrofit on lighting, and now their lighting looks great. The town of Goldendale, I guess I didn't really go and look out at the town itself. Yeah.
Will you demonstrate your diorama for us?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So this, feel free to play around with this as well after the show. Can we turn down some lights here? This is much better in a dimmer room like my basement when all the lights are off. I was like, oh yeah, didn't think of that. Okay, so let's bring it back. Now don't look directly at the light, please, because that's direct glare. But we'd imagine an outdoor light fixture that is unshielded and very bright and blue light. So what are some ways we can fix this? Well, we can, for everyone in the room, let's dim it down a little bit. Jeez. Okay, we dim it down. We can see the light stars a little more. What else can we do? We can change the color temperature a little bit, right? We can turn it to more reddish. Now it's becoming a little more aesthetically pleasing. There's something else that we can do according to our... We can shield it, right? So what we can do, let's see if this works. Oh, nice. Now, we have Thank you. We have the light where it's supposed to be, on the ground. And we can see a lot of stuff on the ground now. And it's easy on the eyes. People aren't being glared unless you're sitting right underneath the light like that individual down there. But you can look up and see the stars. Versus, let me do this. And look at the stars on this. Difference. You just can't see it as bright versus that. So, thank you. I was wondering if I was going to get the opportunity to share. So yeah, feel free to play around with this if you want. Yeah. Any other questions?
Talking about how to deal with problems with your neighbors. I've worked out a solution.
Be sure.
Well, I live halfway between Lake Wenatchee and Plain, and we live in the Chua area, and we're surrounded by 5 people who love to put their lights on. We're the only house in it that's totally dark, and the lights from the one neighbor who's about 200 feet away were shining in our windows to the point we're always having to keep our drapes drawn, and so I thought, how am I going to, you can't plant a tree that'll grow fast enough to block it. So I think, what am I going to do? So I got how big was that tarp?
10 by 12.
About 10 by 12. So I got a ladder, and I strung it up on 2 ponderosa trees, between 2 ponderosa trees, to block it. It was perfect. It was really nice.
So perfect would be then turning off the light.
Yeah.
It's good though. Yeah.
So the neighbor comes over the next day and says, why do you have that tarp up there? And I told him. And he was kind enough to change his lights, which was on this huge, enormous 2-door building or garage. It isn't perfect, but it was better because what he had lit up our whole yard. And so, but I thought it was a really kind gesture on his part to do that.
I love that. Yeah, and that's great. So you had something obvious. Yeah. You have something obvious that'll make the neighbor ask you, so you're putting it on them. It's like, well, it's because of your light. I love that. No, thank you for sharing that. I didn't think of that. Any other questions?
I've had good luck taking dark sky literature to the neighbor, talking, well, one inviting them over to look in the telescope. And the next is, I'll buy you a new light. And they'll pull out, say like Home Depot claims they are an affiliate of dark sky. And I'll say, here's what's available. What do you want for under $100? And that's been, no one's taken me up on it. At that point, they say, hey, I can do it. And they do.
So offering to pay for the solution. Sure. You did the research of the solution. You have this literature. Please take the literature. If you have it, take multiples of it if you need until it's all out. And you can actually print this as well on darksky.org under resources if you need more.
Well, what a great show. That was really
Thank you. Thank you.
That was fun. All right, well, thank you all for coming. If you don't mind and you have a minute, after you look at all of the great things Paul did, help us stack some chairs. That would make it easier on my team tomorrow morning. And otherwise, have a great night.